Hi, I'm Will Lockamy.
And I'm Reed Lockamy.
And this is the final edition of the Iron Bowl Hour for this season.
Or as we like to call it, the show that, let's be honest, no one is watching. Football season ended a week or so ago, and this is nobody's watching this.
No, we could almost do anything we want.
Well, let's do something, I'll tell you what, I'm going to say something horribly offensive. Yeah. Listen up, you
On tonight's show.
Am I the kid that they all feel sorry for?
I think that's sort of where we are.
I have, for a long time, been a playoff advocate. Amen, brother. Bring it home.
Sure. From atop Red Mountain at Vulcan Park and Museum, it's the Iron Bowl Hour.
Well, Will, it's time for the final agree to disagree of the season. Now, I've won all of the previous 15 weeks, but now is your chance to do a good job.
I don't know. If anything, I think we've been kind of even Steven.
Nope.
Alabama just barely made it into the BCS title game against LSU, while Auburn will play against Virginia in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. With everything the teams have gone through this season, which team will face more scrutiny if they lose their bowl game? Reed, you've got Auburn coming off of a national championship season, and if they lose to Virginia in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, clearly it's going to be Auburn. Alabama, do people expect Alabama to win? They've already lost to LSU at home.
Okay, now, so wait, let's clarify.
Okay.
Because I was going to argue Alabama's going to face more scrutiny because you have to play in a bowl game in order to have any scrutiny. Is Auburn playing in a bowl game this year?
No, they are, Reed. Actually, at the Georgia Dome, Chick-fil-A Bowl, playing Virginia.
Well, no, in fairness, not all of their players will be playing in the bowl game, so I don't really count that as the whole team. All right, so that's not. Look, who cares what happens in Auburn's bowl game? This is, like you said, the Chick-fil-A Bowl happens sometime this year, I think. Is that right? So that's not even like a real bowl game.
Barely this year.
Yes, that's not even like a real bowl game. Listen, clearly Alabama is the one who has the most to gain, the most to lose, right? Everybody knows they were better than LSU on November 5th. Everybody knows they should win the game this time around, right? That's just a given. So if they lose, it's a major. I mean, I've got them favored by like 17.5 points.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, more scrutiny if they lose the game.
No, I think they have, if anything, just no pressure on them because LSU's the #1 team in the land. LSU already beat them.
But Alabama's the better team, Will, so everybody expects Alabama to win the game. It doesn't matter what number you attach to LSU. Alabama, the better team. They won the game once again on November 5th. They beat LSU in every phase of the football game. Every phase. They're the better team.
Except the scoring phase.
Yeah, well, just that one. That's not even really a phase.
The kicking phase.
Okay, that's also another phase they lost. But in the other phases, when it comes to being totally awesome and better, then they won. So, look, they're going to win the national championship. Number 14 going on the board, right? So they got a lot to lose. Look, people are going to be upset. Some people have argued that Nick Saban's been out-coached a time or two here and there, right? And now people, Alabama fans are not going to stand for that.
No.
And Nick Saban never loses a rematch game, except for the last time when he did lose a rematch game against this exact same team. But the point is he never loses rematch games. Everybody knows they win. They win, right? so scrutiny, certainly, if they lose.
Okay, I'm just saying, can you imagine a team winning the national championship and then people saying, oh, next year they'll lose to Virginia in the Chick-fil-A Bowl? It's ridiculous to even think about.
I don't understand what you're even talking about. Why?
You forget Auburn's playing a bowl game, the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
This year?
Yeah, just barely.
It's the game of the century part 2, and it's a simple question. Who wins the national championship? I can't believe we're even discussing this. This may be the easiest question we've ever had. LSU wins the national championship.
What?
Let me make a bold prediction. I'm going to say 9-6. We've already seen this football game. LSU wins. It was just like a month ago we watched it. So LSU wins. Congratulations to Les Miles. That's a great season and a great championship.
Look, Reed, even though LSU is ranked #1, they did go to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama by this much in overtime because of some special team errors on Alabama's part. Alabama beat them in almost every aspect of that game. Alabama could
are you going to sit here and argue that Alabama won almost every phase of the game? And that's ridiculous because let me tell you something. Alabama didn't win in the special teams game, right? And more importantly, they didn't win on the scoreboard, and that's what counts. LSU won the game last time around. They are the better team. Listen, we've covered this before. If Alabama loses, or let's say Alabama wins this game, Alabama wins the game. Who's the national champion? LSU. You know why? Because they've won one more football game than Alabama, and oh look, how convenient, they have a division championship and a conference championship. They are the better team. They win, clearly.
Reed, there's no pressure on Alabama. They're #2. LSU has already beaten them. Everybody thinks LSU is going to win the game. Alabama comes in there and wins easily.
Yeah, there's a good reason there's no pressure on Alabama because they have no chance of winning. Once again, LSU, the better team, won last time in Tuscaloosa. Listen, and this time it's in New Orleans, in LSU's backyard. Listen, I predict LSU to win probably by 17 and a half points, something like that.
Reed, even though LSU had 3 more points than Alabama, I honestly do think Alabama won in every phase of that game other than special teams. Alabama could have easily won that game by a touchdown or 2 if a decision here or there was changed.
Okay, here's the other thing that everyone conveniently likes to forget. Every year, the team that wins the national championship, just like LSU, who's already won the national championship this year, every year, the team that wins the national championship has an off week. Right?
Right.
Okay, remember when Alabama essentially lost to Tennessee, except for that they blocked 1 field goal? Okay, at home.
Did Tennessee win in every phase of that game?
Tennessee very rarely wins any phases of any game. But here's my point. Look, all right, so every time there's Auburn last year, you had to squeak by a couple of teams, Clemson, you a couple of okay, off weeks. Okay. Where's LSU's off week this year? Show me a game where they really struggled and had an off week.
I don't remember.
I can think of one. Where they only won by 3 points in overtime.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, listen, everybody assumes, well, Alabama and LSU, they're the same team. They're just as good as each other. How do we know LSU wasn't having an off week in a hostile environment in Tuscaloosa? Listen, 17 and a half points. LSU wins.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Well, I think Alabama's going to go down to New Orleans and win their 17 and a half championship.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's been an amazing year of agreeing to disagree, and for our last topic of the year, we will argue about who is better at agree to disagree, Will or Reed. Well, Reed, as we've heard many times, with age comes wisdom, and you are 12 years older than I am, and have
that's not exactly right.
It's something like that,
Something
and
like
you clearly have more wisdom than I do. You have better arguing skills. You were the president of the debate team. We don't want to forget that.
And a junior spelunker.
You're a little spelunker, as they say.
Spelunker.
Listen, you finished college. I attended for a couple of classes.
Well, zinging yourself here.
Well, I'm just saying. You've done really well in this segment.
Now, this is awkward because I was also going to argue that I'm better at agreeing to disagree, but I guess
you're going with the easy win.
I'm so good at agreeing to disagree, I'll just try to argue that you're better.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Is this going to be about my looks?
No.
Okay.
No. Listen, you're good at agreeing to disagree because a lot of times, as you know, on this show, we have to argue things that are not what we believe at all, right? My wife routinely reminds me of this when I get home and says, "Do you really think that?" No, of course not. I don't really think these things. And to do that, Will, a lot of times you really have to say some things that just sound stupid and you don't have to say them. And listen, all season long you've been saying things that sound very stupid and sounding very sincere about it. And a lot of times you've been able to keep a straight face while you say these stupid things. I think it's really been impressive.
Yeah. Well, okay, Reed, you, as my older brother, taught me most everything I know. I rarely listen to my parents, if at all. I hardly can remember their names sometimes.
Sure.
But I learned almost everything from you, and so obviously I learned how to argue from you. So you're going to be better than me, clearly.
Well, listen, they say a lot of times if you want to get better at basketball, you got to play basketball against people who are better than you, right? And I think that's probably, listen, I've felt bad a lot of times beating you in arguments and every sporting event we've ever done and all of these sorts of things, but I guess I can see now where it's helped you along, right? Being beaten repeatedly over and over and over, and I think I think you've handled it well. Like I said, you've still sounded pretty stupid, but you've done a good job of sort of keeping some dignity about yourself throughout the process.
I'm trying to really see how you're arguing here.
I'm saying that you've done a very good job. You've done a very good job.
It's sounding stupid. You're saying things like that. Rita, I'm trying to give you a compliment.
Well, listen, Will, this is a television show, right? You got to have drama. You got to have an underdog. You got to have somebody you think he can't possibly do it. And then at the end of the season, you think, is he going to do it? But then it's also like a European film where things don't necessarily end happily, right? And so you have this struggle where people have watched all season. Nobody's really watching this episode, so this doesn't really apply. But here they might tune in to see, is Will finally going to sound like he's the smartest one? And then they think, oh no, and it's angst and it's a Swedish film.
Am I the kid that they all feel sorry for?
I think that's sort of where we are.
Oh gosh.
Up next on the Iron Bowl Hour, Will and Reed attend a House Divided party.
For the past 12 years, Price and Joy Close have been throwing a House Divided party. To be invited, each couple must have graduated from the opposing school in the Iron Bowl rivalry.
We kept running into couples who were married the opposite school. It was either an Auburn person married to an Alabama, vice versa.
Right.
And we started counting it up going, we know so many couples. And we had 28 couples that we invite to come to the party.
How long have you guys been coming to this party?
Oh my gosh, ever since Joy and Price started, I think maybe 10 or 12 years ago.
10 or 12 years ago, probably.
How long have y'all been married?
Forever.
Right? It feels that way at least.
43 years.
43 years. And how many of those years have been happily married?
5.
What day of the week you asking?
We go, war down, we go, kick him in the butt, big blue. Hey!
When I worked for Auburn,
Right.
I go into Pat Dye's office, and we were talking about the next club meeting he was going to go to, and I walk in there and I go, okay, I'm dating a boy who goes to Alabama. Will you sign an autograph for him? And I've been looking for it. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in the house. But he signed it on an orange piece of paper, and I framed it in a blue mat, and it says, Price, you're just like all the other Alabama boys. You have to come to Auburn to find your women. War Eagle, Pat Dye.
And amazingly, everything was spelled correctly. I was just shocked.
So you must have heard really great things for you to go all the way down to Auburn.
That's right.
I heard she liked to kiss a lot.
And was this true? No, she does not like to kiss.
Yeah, somebody lied big time on that one.
I go to the big screen TV that we have, and Joy goes to the garage and watches it in a little black and white. No?
No, I kick him out of the house.
Gotcha.
We can't even watch it.
We
in
don't
the
watch
same
it together.
house.
I mean, I could, but
Yeah.
she can't.
It's best to separate on game day.
Now, can you pull for Alabama when Auburn's not involved?
No, she doesn't. She's going to lie if she
I
says she
used
does.
to. I really used to.
Right.
And then the Alabama people just became so obnoxious that I just...
One in particular.
You know, it's just a one-way street. You understand that?
No, I really did, and you know I did.
Oh, yeah.
Can you pull for Auburn in any games?
Absolutely not.
No, he doesn't.
Absolutely
right.
not.
Most creative dish goes to drum roll, and there was almost a tie, but it actually went to the Alabama apples, Auburn, whatever that Lane Smith did.
Yay!
Oh, you can put that in your car. Alabama eating Auburn? You don't like that?
She's Auburn.
You're all. Oh, that's right. I forgot we went to Auburn together. What am I thinking? Of course.
What's wrong with that?
Charlie is the most bitter Auburn fan I've ever been around. He hates Alabama. He pulls for the other team no matter who Alabama's playing.
Go LSU.
On our
Beat up
first year of marriage, I got so mad at him that he closed the bedroom door, and I got the mop and I tore a hole in our door because it was that intense.
Very The Shining.
Jack Nicholson style, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. She was coming at me with one of those squeeze mops.
You educate a woman, you educate a family. That's
you go.
the saying.
There you
and
go.
so I was educated to love Auburn. I love it, love it, love it. And I train my children the same way. I would not give them apple juice unless they went War Eagle. Hey,
You know, it's
so they went.
a form of child abuse. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
When I say Alla, you say Bama. Alla. When I say roll, you say Tide. Roll. Tide. Roll. Tide.
So how did your children end up going to Auburn?
Well, that's scripture. It says in the Bible that the children are saved by the believing spouse. So
That's the first time we've heard that.
I know, right?
And that probably won't make it on TV.
You never know.
Now, do you guys have kids, or?
We do. We have
And
3 grown ones and 8 grandchildren.
All right, now your 3 children, who do they pull for?
Have
One for Auburn and 2 for Alabama.
So now, how did that happen when you have a mixed marriage like
Because
this?
the one that went to Auburn is a misguided person.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, for all you guys who are thinking about getting married to the opposite fan, do not do it.
Don't do it.
It just,
It's been
Don't do
that
it.
tough. living with
No,
Charlie.
it hadn't been that tough. After you have kids
Right.
and you go through the rigors of life, it kind of becomes less important.
Sure.
Especially
But-
when they all go to Auburn.
Do you feel like a younger generation could have a party like this and have fun with it? It seems like maybe the rivalry is more heated now at this time than it was, say, 20 years ago.
Well, it may be more heated for the younger people, but I think as you get older, you mellow, and it really doesn't matter so much. I mean, it still matters, but we certainly have a lot of fun with it. It's a time to bring the Auburn family and the Alabama family together.
Right.
Up next on the Iron Bowl Hour, it's WVUA's Gary Harris.
Reed, it's time for rapid fire questions with WVUA's own Gary Harris.
All right, here we go.
I'm nervous.
You should be. What does the V in WVUA stand for?
Vision.
That makes sense. Yeah. Who's friendlier, Nick Saban or the Nick Saban statue?
Nick Saban statue.
Okay.
What would it sound like if a professional wrestler ordered a meal at a Jack's drive-thru?
Give me the double cheese and give it to me now, brother, or you're going down. And I want some extra mustard.
Nice.
They always want mustard.
What's the difference in Alabama and Auburn?
11 national championships.
By how many points will Alabama win the BCS National Championship game on January 9th?
At least 40.
That's it.
Yeah, reasonable.
If you could kick one school out of the SEC, who would it be?
Vanderbilt.
If Auburn had to pick just one mascot, which one should they keep? The eagle, the tiger, or the barn?
Pat Dye.
Oh, well
Nice.
played, yeah, okay. Should LSU get a 3-point head start in the BCS title game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Are you glad this part of the interview's over?
No, I'm enjoying it.
That's a good answer.
I love being
Sure.
interrogated.
There you go.
One of our best guesses.
Off to the elevator.
Here we go.
Gary Harris from WVUA, thanks for hanging out with us.
It was my pleasure. I saw Bill Bussey last week, Bubba, and I saw him say that y'all had obviously ran out of guests because he and I were just about the last ones
We
left.
saved the best for last.
There you go.
Last
That's why
episode
we're
of the
looking
season.
at it. That's
And
right.
there was some concern after Bubba rode the elevator with us last week that it wasn't going to be operational anymore, but you saw we got 32 people on it tonight, and it was not a problem.
It held up, thankfully.
There you go.
Because only one misfire in that situation.
That's right.
So tell us about this season with Alabama. A bit of controversy here going to the BCS National Championship game. Not so much around here. Everybody
Right.
thinks, oh, surely Alabama
Right.
needs to be there. But around the country, maybe not the same sentiment. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I think Alabama and the LSU are the two best teams.
Sure.
And you know, it's a good question from the standpoint of what is the goal of the BCS? You know, are you trying, and as people that vote in these polls, are you voting on who you think the two best teams are? Are you voting, you talk about bias coming in. I've heard a lot of voters in these polls say, well, I don't want to see a rematch. Well, really, that shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
I mean, what you want to see, or, well, I want to see somebody else get a shot. At the end of the day, and I'm not a voter, but if I were, I would like to think that you can remove your bias and say, are these the two best teams? I think Alabama and LSU are the two best teams. It was funny, before they played that game, guys, everybody, all the pundits nationally were saying, these are clearly the two best teams. They've
Right.
separated themselves. Well, you knew they were going to play, and you knew one team was going to lose.
Right.
So and then it went to an overtime game. That suddenly mean that one of them's not still one of the two best teams? Having said that, as long as Oklahoma State stayed undefeated, they were going to play in the game. You know, they got beat by a 28-point underdog in Ames, Iowa. That opened up the possibility for Alabama to get there. So you're right. I've got no problem with the matchup, and I'm looking forward to it.
Gary, I agree with you. The BCS, the purpose of the BCS is to infuriate people and be illogical. And this year they've done that again, so I don't know what people are upset
Well, they're
about.
living right up to their motto. huh?
Right.
I'd like to see a playoff. I have, for a long time, been a playoff advocate. Amen.
Ooh,
brother.
look at There you that. go.
Bring it
Yes,
home.
yeah.
Love
You
the
know,
playoff,
and this BS about, well, we can't do it because of the bowl games. Every other sport, and in football, you know, 1AA or FCS, whatever they are now, Division
LOL,
II, Division
I think,
III,
yeah.
all do playoff systems.
Sure.
The way I see it is you could use the bowls. A certain amount of the bowls are actually involved in the playoff, and then the ones that aren't can still take these crappy teams that shouldn't be in bowls to begin with.
This is exactly what I say, Gary.
You know, you could do it 16, you could do it 8, you could do it 12.
Can Gary
So-
co-host the
I
show?
know.
Well,
right?
I
Welcome aboard.
But that has been my thought for a long time.
Yeah. Would a playoff take some attention away from Poulon weed eaters? And I think that's the concern.
I don't think it would. I mean, how much interest is there in the Poulon Weed Eater Bowl now? You can still have it. That's what I'm saying. The teams
nice
that didn't
weed eater,
qualify
though.
for it is. It works really well,
Yeah.
especially around the edges of your house.
Absolutely.
But the bowls that are those type of bowls now would still be those type of bowls. They wouldn't be involved in the playoff system. And then eventually, when you got to the Final Four, you would use the 4 major bowls, and then you'd have the BCS champion, or not the BCS championship game, but you'd have the championship game.
So what's going to happen in the game this year?
Well, now I thought Alabama was going to win the first time they played. So, you know,
Right.
but I think Alabama
lot of people think they did.
will win the game. And yeah, in Tuscaloosa, I still think they're counting that as moral victory number 150 in the last 10 years. But first of all, defensively, can they play any better? I mean, they gave
Right.
up 2 field goals. One of those was after an interception by A.J. McCarron that set up LSU at 12-yard line. So I think defensively, you just say, hey, we just need to do what we do. Offensively, I don't think you make radical changes, but you do say, hey, we have to take advantage of opportunities. If you can't make long field goals, then you got to get closer field goals. Yeah. If you don't want to try to kick a field goal, then you got to score a touchdown. But, you know, they move the ball well enough, you know, watching the tape back. And I'm sure LSU's looking at it completely from an LSU perspective, and they're looking at things they could have done. But from an Alabama perspective, they moved the ball well enough. They were in position to score enough. Easily could have had 24 points. I mean, it could have been a 24-6 game. It wasn't. Right. And for that, I credit LSU. They found a way to win the game, and I credit Les Miles because at some point in that game, for all his riverboat gambler style, he looked at his team and he said, you know what? If we just hang in here and don't make mistakes, we're going to win the game. You know, and that's what they did. But I think Alabama's mission is just take advantage of opportunities.
Reminds me of the round of golf I played last week where I almost shot an 18 if I just had a hole-in-one on every hole.
That's generally the way it works.
Yeah, it turned out to be a 103, though.
Gary Harris from WVUA, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, my pleasure.
Up next, it's time for the Innisfree Trivia Minute. Gary, let's go to Innisfree.
Let's go to Innisfree. Let's do it.
Stay tuned for more of the Iron Bowl Hour.
Reed, before we head to Innisfree for the season wrap-up after party, we need to congratulate this week's winner, Ryan Graham.
Oh, is that Ryan Monstergram?
That's right. Ryan Monstergram correctly guessed that Alabama and Auburn had played 76 times.
And viewers, thanks to everyone who participated in the trivia challenge this season. Will, it turned out we had some smart viewers.
Yeah, we had a couple of them.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah.
For sure. Reed, hey, let's go to Innisfree.
Indeed. What I did was I got one of those covers that go on the steering wheel,
Fluffy.
and that fixed it. Yeah, but which is a little weird. It's better now.
Oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
I forgot there's actually no trivia this week because there's no episode next week.
No, this is the season finale right here.
That's right. That's all the time we have for this season of the Iron Bowl
I'll
Hour.
say this though, Will, it's been a good one, and we got it done just in time. My seasonal hibernation starts next week, so that worked out well.
How long are you going to sleep?
About 3 months.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I can take a nap like that.
Yeah, I do it every year.
For the Iron Bowl Hour, I'm Will Lockamy.
And I'm Reed Lockamy.
Roll Eagle, Reed.
And War Tide, Will.
Vulcan Park and Museum. Introduce your family and friends to Birmingham's icon this holiday season. Vulcan Park and Museum will open at 1 p.m. Thanksgiving Day. For hours and admission, log on to www.visitvulcan.com.
It's a little weird, I think. It's more of a kitchen time.
Sticky.
No, it's... Let's start. All right. They are the better team. They win, clearly. I like juicy fruit.
Yeah, well. For the Iron Bowl Hour, I'm Will Lockamy.
And I'm Reed Lockamy.